Israel's now, if they weren't at the beginning of this 2 months ago, is now assassinating, targeting academics, not just journalists and medical professionals. They're basically going after the culture of Gazans, anyone who speaks for large groups of people and speaks out and represents Gazans. And this is kind of the latest, and this is horrific. I mean, as is all of it. But an IDF strike has killed Gaza scholar Rafat Al-Arir. And in their article, a friend is paying tribute. But to read you a little bit more about him, scholar and policy analyst Jihad Abisalam remembers his friend Rafat Al-Arir, the acclaimed Palestinian academic and activist who was killed by an Israeli airstrike in Gaza City. He was a towering figure in Palestinian society, especially in Gaza. He used education and language as a weapon against oppression. And you know, the tragedy that has befallen the academic, scholarly, and intellectual community in Gaza and in Palestine is unprecedented. Israel destroying the foundations of society in the Gaza Strip. This is part of genocide. This is how you perpetrate a genocide. You don't just go after the military or the fighters or even the military-age males. You start going after anyone who is an academic, is a doctor, is a spiritual healer, is a religious leader. You try and attack these centers of culture, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was specifically targeted. He was sheltering in a school, and the Israeli forces literally called him to tell him that they were going to kill him. So he left the school so that the other people sheltering there would not be murdered. And he was then, of course, targeted. So again, this is also part of what Israel is doing, and it also once again lends a reminder. It reminds us that this being the most surveilled place on the planet, they know where everybody is at any given time, and Al-Arir was well known. I mean, he was a good friend of many of my friends. He was a good friend of Nora Barrows-Friedman, who works with Electronic Intifada. He was a good friend of Dan Cohen, who has also done a lot of work on Gaza and Israel. And so they needed to kill this messenger in particular because he has been for a long time a threat, because he continues to speak out in Western spaces, so-called Western spaces, about what's happening, and showing people and being a tour guide to people in Gaza and in the West Bank and other places about to show them what life is really like. And that is a dire threat to Israel. And so this is, of course, one of the reasons that he was specifically targeted. And again, like we've talked about in the past, poets and artists, or as James Baldwin put it, poets are the only ones who can tell us what it means to be on this planet and survive. And so poets have that ability, and he had that ability to put his experience into those words and have it mean something to people all across the globe. And so he is one of, tens of thousands of people to die in this genocide. So it's not like we're saying this is the most important person. It's not about that. It's a commentary on the specific targeting, why he was specifically targeted, and why they wanted to.
And a side story of this, which to me is far less important than simply the assassination of him, but it's still a side story that people are talking about, is that Barry Weiss, the longtime New York Times writer, who is a well-known, strong Zionist, and puts forward 99% of what she does is propaganda for the U.S. empire. She's left the New York Times a couple of years ago, but she singled him out because he made a joke. The propaganda was that Hamas put babies in like kitchen ovens and murdered them, and it was completely false. There's no evidence, complete garbage. So someone tweeted about, acting like that was real, and his response was, did they add baking soda or something like that? Because his point was, this is a farce, and so I'm going to add a joke to it because this is a stupid joke. This is not true. That was his point. Barry Weiss then singled him out and said, look at Al-Arir joking about killing babies. And apparently he and some others felt that that's what pushed him up on the list of people the IDF wanted to kill. And he had actually said or tweeted, if I die, it'll be because of Barry Weiss and her or others like her. So many people are pointing out that Barry Weiss is now responsible for the death of this academic and poet and writer and leader. I don't think she's 100% responsible. I think that Israel has a game plan of murdering well-known academics and speakers and leaders. But anyway, that is a side note.